Hello and welcome to Advancing Pawn. In this video, I'll show you a bishop and pawns versus knight and pawns endgame. This is again from a game that my friend played online. I thought there were a few interesting positions in the analysis that are worth sharing. Let me start with the last position that we are interested in and then move backwards from there to see the previous two moments. I thought the flow worked better that way. Okay, this is the last position that we are taking up. Black knight has just moved into e3 and it looks to exchange against the bishop on d5. This white bishop is defending the white pawn on b7. So if it were to move outside of this diagonal anywhere between a2 and g8, then it would lose sight of the b7 pawn and the black king can capture the pawn. And white cannot afford to allow the exchange to happen on d5 either. Let's quickly see what would happen if white allowed the exchange. Let us say kd4, which would be a blunder. I'm just theoretically showing how the move would work. And n cross d5. Now king cannot capture on d5 because after f3, white king is not in a position to come back and catch the f pawn anymore. And also white cannot queen its b7 pawn because black king is right next to the pawn and can capture the pawn anytime. So this is now totally lost for white. For this reason, white simply cannot allow the exchange to happen on d5. And also if the bishop were to move outside of this diagonal, b7 pawn would be lost. So what is the best move at this point for white? The best move for white is simply bishop to c6. Now white has avoided the bishop exchange on d5 and also bishop stays in the same diagonal and continues to support the b7 pawn. Black king cannot capture the bishop on c6 because then the b pawn would queen and white would win. So this is the interesting move that I wanted to show you start this video, where white can continue to play a drawn game after bc6. Let me go backwards from here and show you a previous position that is interesting. Okay, at this point, white has pushed b6 and after a cross b6, white has recaptured on b6. Now this is a blunder. White should have simply gone straight with a6. What happens after a cross b6 is the pawn comes one step closer to the black king, so it would make life easier for black to defend. But more importantly, the queening square for the pawn now is b8, which is not controlled by the light squared bishop that white has. So the bishop will just not be able to help its pawn to take its final step towards queening. So the pawn would get stuck on b7. White could have gone ahead with a6, which is comfortably winning. Let's see how the continuation might have gone. Let's say f3, black tries to counter and get its queen. a7, f2, and now white can temporarily hold queening its pawn and go bishop g2. Now bishop takes care of this pawn. Black cannot queen successfully anymore, and then there's no black space that can stop white's a7 pawn from queening. So this is comfortably winning for white at this stage. So here again, white shouldn't have recaptured the pawn on b6. We are wired to look for an exchange by default. We want to get back the lost material, but these are the positions where we need to look for the winning move rather than simply taking the exchange, and a6 is the winning move. Let me go a couple of moves backwards from here, and yeah, at this point black has moved g5. This seemingly normal move that consolidates the pawn structure for black and supports black's passed pawn on f4 is a blunder, because this is what eventually led white to this point where it could have found the winning move a6. What should black have done here? Black should have simply pressed forward with f3. Now black is equally in the race for queening, and if white plays b6, a cross b6, and a6, and this time white is not winning anymore. Let's say f2, bg2. Now to stop black from queening is a little late, because ac7, a7. Now you cannot get any closer to the a7 pawn, because these two squares are controlled by the bishop and b8 is controlled by white's pawn. But black can simply queen to distract white's bishop, and once bishop captures, black king can get closer to the pawn to b7, and now white cannot save its a7 pawn anymore. So yeah, at this point g5 was a blunder. Black should have played f3 to stay in the game. Let me go forward from here to see all the three interesting positions that we tried to cover in this video. Instead of playing f3, black played g5, which was a blunder that allowed white a winning option. White did make the right move here with b6, but after a cross b6, white did not find a6, which was the winning move. Instead, white played a cross b6, leading to a drawn continuation. And then a few moves later, we landed here, where white's king blocks the bishop from moving in this direction and staying in the same diagonal, and white could not afford to exchange on d5, and also moving in the other diagonal would lose the b7 pawn. But this is where bc6 would have been the best move, which white did not find and went on to lose the game. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. I'll see you in the next video in Advancing Pawn. Thank you for watching.